and they're taking away fundamental rights. I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
Hey there, guys. Welcome to the channel. Guys, obviously a lot is happening, right? And it's looking like 2024 is probably going to be the busiest and probably also the most pivotal year in Supreme Court history. Right now, they're getting set, I would imagine, it's looking like they're getting set to hear arguments on Trump's immunity or presidential immunity. They're going to hear about the 14th Amendment, definitely. And of course, they already agreed to hear cases regarding January 6 indictments, which should also affect one way or the other Donald Trump as well. And of course, you know, if the court is going to play a pivotal role in anything, it's time for the usual suspect Democrats to all go after the black guy. And I'll show you what I mean in a moment, guys. But first, if you haven't already, please help the channel continue to grow. You know, this is going to be a difficult year to get conservative voices heard. I think we all know that. So if we're going to do this, we're going to have to do it together. So please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, most importantly, share the channel. So here's what I'm talking about. Everybody's favorite impeachment manager, the great Honorable Jamie Rasin, was on with Dana Bash, basically talking about how conservative justices, especially ones appointed by Trump, just can't be trusted and they should recuse themselves, which of course is ridiculous. Everybody that can still rub two brain cells together knows that that is ridiculous. You know, they don't believe this. You know, the Senate confirmed every single one of those people. They didn't believe it then. They don't believe it now. And all they're doing, they're playing a very, very dangerous political game with a very, very important function of our government. And I'll explain more about my thoughts on that after the clip. But you guys have to see this clip, man, because Raskin actually says something pretty concerning. Sort of has his own Chuck Schumer moment. Take a look at this.
The Constitution changed the Constitution.
3 of the sitting justices were appointed by Donald Trump. And in addition to that, Justice Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginny, texted with Mark Meadows about the 2020 election and the lead up to January 6th, as you will know. Should any of the justices recuse themselves if they take this up?
Well, finally, the Supreme Court has developed what they're describing as a code of ethics. It's not binding in the sense that they're not going to anyone else. They could have gone to, for example, circuit court justices. You could have had state Supreme Court justices on a panel. But so they're deciding for themselves, again, whether they're in violation of their code of ethics. But I think anybody looking at this in any kind of dispassionate, reasonable way would say if your wife was involved in the big lie and claiming that Donald Trump had actually won the presidential election, had been agitating for that and participating in the events leading up to January 6th, that you shouldn't be participating.
So he should recuse himself.
He should. Oh, he absolutely should recuse himself. The question is, what do we do if he doesn't recuse himself?
How quickly do you think that the Supreme Court will weigh in on this, if they will at all? You assume that they will, right?
Yeah. I mean, under constitutional federalism, every state is ultimately going to control its own ballot access and access to candidates for the ballot. And that is obviously difficult when we're talking about electing the president, who is the one official we've got in America who is supposed to represent the entire country, represent everybody. And so I think that the urgency is for the Supreme Court to act. But I think it's going to be tough for some of them if they want to keep Trump on the ballot, if they're falling for the argument that this is undemocratic. I mean, is it undemocratic that Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jennifer Granholm can't run for president because they weren't born in the country? If you think about it, of all the forms of disqualification we have, the one that disqualifies people for engaging in insurrection is the most democratic, because it's the one where people choose themselves to be disqualified. In terms of your age or where you were born, that's not up to you. But you know, Donald Trump is in that tiny, tiny number of people who've essentially disqualified themselves.
Yeah, so you guys see that, man. Let me know in the comments what jumps out to you. But what jumps out at me are really a couple things. You know, first, how far back do the Democrats and their enablers in the media want to set back women's rights? You know, they're implying that a man and his wife think and act as one, that their thoughts and actions cannot be separated. It just doesn't make any sense. If you apply their own logic, right, which is always faulty, agreed. But if you apply it, does that make Hillary Clinton a sexual predator? No, of course not. She's an entirely different kind of predator. Everybody knows that. But, another thing to me that seemed a little bit off, Raskin, he's a congressman. Congress adjudicates its own ethics complaints the same way the Supreme Court does. They handle it no differently than the Supreme Court. But he knows all this stuff. And honestly, just like a typical Democrat, they just depend on low information voters not knowing how anything works and just getting all ginned up by emotion. And it's just sad when you see someone doing something that you know that they know better, but they do it anyway. And then finally, here's the thing everyone's taken exception with, right? He says when he was talking about Clarence Thomas not recusing himself, which he knows that he won't. Everybody knows that he won't. But he lays it all out there. He says, the question is, what do we do if he doesn't recuse himself? Now, of course, that does sound like a threat, right? And people are taking it as a threat. And I think it's a threat also, but I don't think it's the same kind of threat that everyone is taking it to mean. I don't think he's talking about protests or anything dangerous. I don't even think he's talking about impeachment. I think that he's talking about the court itself. I think the left is setting up a coup of the courts type fantasy play because they know that the Constitution will lead this court to side with Donald Trump because they know everything that they are doing and everything that they are supporting is wrong, whether it's taking people off the ballots or whether it's even claiming that there was an insurrection when the federal government doesn't even believe itself that there was an insurrection. They know everything they're doing is wrong and they know it's completely unconstitutional. And they also know that they've been convincing truly insane people that Trump is an insurrectionist and a danger to democracy for years now. At the same time that they've been doing that, they've been planting every bit of seed of doubt and mistrust that they can in the court, which sets them up for what's next. The court is going to make a perfectly constitutional, originalist decision on everything that's before them. And the left is going to use that to completely undermine any faith, undermine any trust in the entire symbol of the Supreme Court, which really, when you break it down, that is what it is. And they're going to try to destroy it. They're going to use it to attempt to finally push over the finish line, packing the court and just neutering and destroying the Supreme Court in any possible way that they can. The problem that they're going to have is that everything they are attempting, everything that they believe is growing less and less popular, and no one is buying it anymore. Any thinking person is not buying it. And it's really, everything they're doing is only happening inside their leftist bubble, which thankfully is shrinking more and more every single day as more and more people wake up. But guys, we have to make sure that more people wake up. So share this video and let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. That's all I have on this one. But if you haven't already, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. And we'll see you in the next one.